and welcome to this iTalk webinar. What should we do now? That's the topic of this webinar. If someone told you 2 months back that the Sensex are out, you would have possibly laughed. If they suggested a simple majority for one formation, you certainly would not have believed it. Democracy has a habit of constantly throwing up surprises. These surprises are mostly sprung on the insecure stock markets, where they make a disproportionate impact. The Sensex at 24,000 is a surprise to many who did not anticipate a clear mandate. It has also managed to surprise a few who actually expected a clear mandate because they expected the reaction to come after the results and not before it. So what do the exit polls say? What made the Sensex climb so steeply? Clearly, the anticipation and the exit polls have woven the market magic. And how? The exit polls have given the markets great hope of a clear mandate, a decisive government, and a strong leader as PM. But the markets being what they are, one always has this lingering doubt. Has the hope train run too fast on the market tracks? Will it be stopped in its tracks by the economic reality? Is there a possibility that the current market rally is not based on fundamentals but is merely irrational euphoria? Yes, euphoria always causes secular market moves. That's nothing new about it. Everything goes up, including stocks with a poor outlook. Today's move in BHEL is clearly born out of that irrational euphoria. DLF's sharp uptick is another case in point. What are people doing? They are thinking of buying stocks or looking to buy stocks they believe will go up or benefit if the NDA comes to power and Modi becomes the PM. But on a day when the markets feel extremely relieved, these are but minor transgressions. It's not something that one should give too much importance to. Today's trade in the market seems to have factored in the exit polls. One tends to believe that to a large measure the exit polls are priced in. Importantly, the markets are not trading cheap anymore. Yes, they aren't costly, but they certainly aren't cheap. The focus upon the valuations of the market has to be much sharper now. The markets trade at about 16 times FY15 earnings, even at these levels. Now that is just marginally above the 10-year median PE. So the markets aren't exactly costly, they certainly aren't cheap. So is it fairly priced at the present? Has it already discounted the Modi effect? Now fair pricing and the Modi effect are two things that work very differently. If you did not have a stable government, one would think the market is fairly priced because most of the expectations of uncertainty are priced in at these valuations. But Modi effect, or what one calls as the certainty in governance, is not fully priced in yet. Even now the exit polls are saying that the NDA will barely get a majority. It's not talking of a clean majority, it's just talking about a wafer thin majority. So the Modi effect is still WIP. The extent of the mandate, suppose let's say the NDA gets 300 plus, anything above 300, that is still not factored in. Because then you get a certainty of kind of governance. It's in no uncertain terms one can expect one style of governance. Now that also has a bearing on the government composition, and a mandate which has an element of certainty will also reflect on how the NDA takes a stand on the UPA's policies, particularly on the social side. Importantly, the urgency with which a new government with a very strong mandate handles fiscal projections will be very different from one which is a borderline government. Also, the game changer ideas which Narendra Modi will want to bring in play will be more effective only if he has an absolute majority. In the sense, it's 272 is not enough, it should be much stronger than that. They would not even need an NDA allies. If they have a majority like that, then it's a different case. Now, these are still not clear to anyone because the polls aren't really giving you such confidence. Until such time that clarity emerges, this rally will remain a hope rally. A hope rally will rise only when those who got left out rush in all at once, and that's what seems to be happening in the markets today. We have seen the buying rush today. This could continue till the result day, though its intensity is likely to slacken. But if you have a mandate with a degree of certainty, let's say the BJP comes with closer to 270 on its own, and the NDA moves up to 305 or 310, 300, anything above 300, then the game completely changes, and that will create a much more stronger and a stable market. No doubt that the markets are seeing euphoria now, and the euphoria seems to be starting to ebb. But there still will be some exuberance in specific parts of the market and in the minds of the investors. And that's what we have seen in some of the sectors that went up today. This is led by retail, and the FIIs also play a part in this. Investors seem to be rushing in and buying whatever has not gone up. But once a clear mandate happens, markets will start reasoning out the merits of individual stocks. When the markets start reasoning out, a moderation of those stocks is inevitable. So the smarter ones will sell out quickly, and this will lead to a softening of the market. We should be seeing a softening phase sometime soon. But these are big strategies. So where is the India story heading? Clearly, the India story is turning, and for the better. We are headed into a very different economic phase, and the long-term story is set to change. The markets will definitely continue to take due note of these changes, and that will happen over a period of time. For the moment, election results still hold sway. Let's look at two scenarios for the market. One is the optimistic scenario, and I will look at the pessimistic scenario also, because one should not add a degree of certainty into our thinking, and the markets always have a tendency to surprise. First, the optimistic scenario. The watchword for an optimistic scenario is stability. Only if we have stability do we have an optimistic scenario. The formation of a stable government with a strong mandate and an ability to push through crucial economic reforms will result in a stronger performance of the markets. And what should we be doing if the markets go up sharply from here? What we should be doing is identify the weaker parts in your investment portfolio and sell them off. Identify the stronger investments in your portfolio and quarantine them, you hold them back and retain them. Sell only those investments which you don't want to hold and would never want to buy back. Now, essentially, a rise in the market should be used to do some spring cleaning. The core of your portfolio must be retained. And when should you do that? You could do that progressively running into Friday if the markets blow out. But it's more likely that we could see an emotional blowout on Friday if you get the mandate clearly in favor of the BJP. Let's say BJP is closer to 270 on its own and the NDA is closer to 300, maybe on the right side of 300. So we could see an emotional blowout on that day if that happens, but it may not last. So what is important from an investor standpoint is not the result day trade. I would recommend that one should focus on what will follow in the weeks after result day. The immediate market reaction will be an emotional response. What's really important is what ensues in the days and months after the results. So that's what one should be focusing upon. What should you do if the market go up for one day and then fall later? Clearly, one should understand that the emphasis would then shift from politics to governance. Economic reform, inflation, and economic growth will be back in sharp focus. With a stable government coming into power, stronger governance is expected, and hence investments can be only looked at positively. As the markets run up, you should not reduce your investments drastically. Instead, your investments will have to be done gradually over a period of 6 months, and you should scale it up. Importantly, your investment should not be done in a hurry. I would not recommend people try to invest in 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days. There need be no investment anxiety through the next 7 or 10 days. Now, many people are wondering about the risks in investing more at these market levels. Let me talk about some of these risks. First is the monsoon. There is a clear risk of El Nino in this year, and we could see a monsoon which is erratic. An erratic monsoon has a definite impact on the Indian economy because most of our agriculture is rain fed, and this year's El Nino will have an impact not only on India but also on global inflation, and we could see these erratic weather patterns create global inflation in agri prices. America is clearly headed towards tapering its QE over the next 9 or 10 months, so we are going to see the impact of global fund flows because of QE, and that is not likely to leave India out, though in the initial period of government formation there could be some FII euphoria. Whether it lasts is the moot question in point. The increase in oil prices, if it happens, is another black swan thing. We don't know, but we can only hope that oil prices remain muted, and what happens in China holds the key to the oil prices. And the volatility in global commodity prices. This is another aspect which cuts both ways. Let's say that the current trend of falling prices in coal, iron ore, and many of the other important commodities continues. This could benefit a country like India, which is an importing country. But it could also work the other way if oil price goes up. So we really need to know where it goes. But these risks have always been there, and one should not avoid doing his investing keeping these in view. I mean, there's no point in waiting saying that these risks are there and therefore I'm not going to invest. Instead, one should have an investment approach which dynamically responds to events that arise from these risks. In essence, the risks have to be dealt with as and when they emerge. The strategy would be to turn these risks into an opportunity. Now, this market rally will be sustainable only if the outcome of the general election is in line with the market expectation. That is the least you can expect. The numbers given in the exit polls have to come. That's the bare minimum. And if it exceeds it, then the rally may sustain. Over the next few quarters, investors should see progress towards removal of economic bottlenecks and improvement in corporate earnings. This is also something that may not happen in the first quarter, and it will take a few more quarters. You need a government in place, you need clarity, and you need some of these bottlenecks to be removed. Now the pessimistic scenario, if the outcome of the election turns out to be one that leads to market mayhem, like we have had in earlier occasions, what is it that you need to do in such a situation? There's only one thing I have done, and I'm going to only recommend that, contrarian investing, because bull markets are born on pessimism and grown on skepticism. They mature on optimism and die on euphoria. The time of maximum pessimism is when to buy, and the time of maximum optimism is the best time to sell. These words of Arthur Cutten really apply to these situations quite aptly. If there is extreme pessimism because, let's say, the NDA is shot by a few seats and the market gets very volatile on the downside, one should be investing selectively. That's what I think one should do in a pessimistic scenario. Now the question comes about contrarian investing. I'm going to deal with it. Is it simply smart to buy when all others sell? While it might not be smart always, but in a situation like this, it definitely is not as risky as one perceives it to be. So what we are trying to say is that with the valuations at 15-16 PE, if the markets get cheaper by 8 or 10%, it's definitely moving towards the lower end of the PE band. You know, the valuations are definitely become much more attractive when they drop by 10% or so thereof. Now, as the valuations are not exactly very high, a market fall will only make stocks relatively more attractive compared to other asset classes. Now, that's another aspect. You know, if you have to deploy your savings, what are the alternatives? The alternatives definitely don't look as good as equity in terms of valuation. They look much more expensive than equity. So, if a fall happens, one can take a contrarian position and buy. The important thing is that smartness in buying when all others selling. When does it fail? It fails when you pace your buying wrongly. You know, most people buy very aggressively, and then when the markets fall even more, they don't have money to buy. So the important thing when you buy and everyone else sells is to right pace your investing. You need to have a little bit of moderation in the way you buy, and that is something that most investors fail to do, and that's something that one should remember in the remote event of a pessimistic scenario. A moderate investment approach. What do I mean by that? Moderate investment approach, it has to be followed in case of extreme exuberance. You know, even when the markets go up, you need moderation, and you need to accelerate your investment as the markets become more pessimistic. You start moderately and then you increase the pace of buying to heightens. Calibrate your investing and invest in the current year to benefit in the subsequent years. Now, you sow financially to reap financially. Now, this is something that's very interesting. The politics in the economy have always had a kind of a love-hate relationship, and we have seen this play out quite drastically on earlier occasions. 2004 was a classic case in point when the markets fell drastically when the Vajpayee government bowed out. This has happened time and again when political change has not been accepted by the stock market. Luckily for us, this time it does not appear that the markets are going to be faced with a political change that it will dislike. And so that's something that stands to the benefit of the market. Importantly, the markets love stability, and that is something that seems to be around the corner and on the anvil. A strong government will definitely have a positive impact on economic growth. This is the GDP growth of our country between 1990 and 2013. You can have a look at this slide. Importantly, look at the years 92-93 through 96-97. Those were the Narasimha Rao Manmohan Singh years, and as the government was more stable and running to its course, you saw the GDP accelerating. A similar situation happened with a slight lag though between 2003 and 2009. You saw the effects of the Vajpayee government. Basically, they had done a lot of changes, and it took a little while for those changes to translate into GDP growth. You also had the fall between 2010 and now, and that's really a result of the falling stability in the UPA too. Now, what is it that the markets love about stability? A stable government has a time to govern. It needs to politic much less. The political requirements are much less. A weaker opposition will allow reforms to run. Stability always helps economic growth. The growth may come with a lag, but it's the stability that manufactures growth. Economic growth happens when stability is assured. It happens with a slight lag. If the growth is driven by inflationary economics, like it was post 2008, it comes to hurt with a lag, and now that's what we are facing economically. And we are in a phase where we are bearing the brunt of the UPA's inflationary regime, and now we need to control inflation first and then kickstart growth. Now, so that is something that one must remember, that growth may not be kickstarted before inflation is controlled, and that obviously is not an easy task. The new government will face serious economic challenges, and it should and will boldly surmount them, and growth will return only with a lag. Investing should happen factoring these aspects. When you expect a lag, your pace of investments must be gradually accelerated. Now, I had mentioned the need to accelerate the momentum of the investing. Acceleration is not necessarily something that happens very fast. It can initially be at a more moderate pace and then gain momentum. Bull runs can't happen simply because of election results. That's something that one should understand. This is just a rally and not a bull run. They happen because of subsequent economic actions. We have no clue what these are going to be, though there is a clear sense of hope, and that hope is not likely to be misplaced. So we need to keep a watch on these things, and the wait has begun for the return of economic growth. Investing in the waiting phase will certainly be profitable and purposeful. Friends, I am not too excited that the market is at 25,000, nor do I think that the world will come to an end if the market comes to 20,000 or 22,000, somewhere lower than this. But what I like of the current position of the market is that you are going to have a phase where the Indian economy decisively breaks away from a decade of dull governance and lack of big ideas. We are certainly going to have much more big ideas, and we should see a rapid acceleration of our economic growth. And that is something that is not factored in the markets at the present, because looking at the index tends to distort what we think is the real market view. I'll now open the field for questions, and I request you to type your questions. I'll be happy to answer all your questions.